Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we are taking a look at some of the rides at Epic Universe and figuring out if they are actually just clones of other rides at the other Universal parks. Now, clones is maybe not the right word to use, but some of these rides feel like they are mutations of pre-existing rides at other Universal parks. There are some similarities you cannot deny. You'll be hearing me use the word basically quite a lot in this video. So let's get right into it. Donkey Kong Minecart Madness is basically Revenge of the Mummy. Think about it. Right off the bat, you've got the minecart theme. Take a look at the ride vehicles. For Revenge of the Mummy, you board a minecart that takes you inside of an ancient Egyptian tomb. For Minecart Madness, the entire premise is based on the iconic minecart levels from the Donkey Kong Country video games, where you are, yes, riding inside a minecart. Even the queues for both of these rides share some similarities. In Revenge of the Mummy, you go through some ancient ruins with hieroglyphics on the walls, and you'll also see hieroglyphics on the walls at the queue for Minecart Madness. The queue for the Mummy has an interactive feature where if two people put their hands on this thing at the same time, a symbol of the Magi will appear on the ceiling above. Over at Minecart Madness, a magical sparkling banana can be seen on the ceiling in that same room that has the hieroglyphics. Coincidental or intentional? It's kind of funny to think about the similarities that these two rides share, considering that Revenge of the Mummy replaced Kongfrontation, the King Kong ride that closed in 2002. And the name of the video game character Donkey Kong came from King Kong. Kind of adds a whole new layer to the hidden Kong statue in the trophy room. And since we're already here, let's talk about another ride that is located in Super Nintendo World at Epic Universe. Next up, we got Yoshi's Adventure, which is basically, I teased it in the opening, it is basically the, say it with me, the High in the Sky Seuss Trolley train ride located in Seuss Landing at Islands of Adventure. Now, the likeness between these two rides is pretty obvious. They are both kids' rides. They are both outdoor, slow-moving, story-driven bird's eye view tours that both rank very low on the thrill level meter, but give you great views of both lands that they respectively inhabit. Next up, let's talk about Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, which is basically Men in Black Alien Attack. That's right, I said it. While the theming is very different, they are both interactive shooter games. Both rides sort of start you off with an introductory training course before throwing you into the real deal, and from there on out, the goal is to get the highest score by shooting at enemies as they appear in front of you. And one of the biggest similarities comes in a technical way. They both use a dual track system, meaning that two tracks and two ride vehicles will run parallel to each other throughout the duration of the ride. Both rides have moments where the vehicles will spin around, designed to discombobulate you while you're trying to shoot at those enemies. The only major difference is that Mario Kart has the augmented reality headset, which I've mentioned before is actually very frustrating because it just creates a blur of chaos in front of you, and it kind of hides some of the really cool practical set pieces, which is another thing it has in common with Men in Black Alien Attack. There are some amazing set pieces that have stood the test of time here.
Sorry.
Or are there? Wait a minute, have I ever even been on Men in Black Alien Attack? Anyway, let's move into Dark Universe. And we'll start with the main attraction here, the hilarious House of Frightenstein. Just kidding, I'm talking about Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein Experiment, which is an amazing ride, one of my favorites at Epic Universe, but it is basically Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Everything from their massive exterior facades to inside the queues with the extensive detailing in both that make you feel like you're walking through each and every corridor and hallway of the massive structure you saw on the outside. Honestly, for both of these rides, the queues are almost the main attraction themselves. But outside of their queues and exteriors being very similar, the ride mechanics on both rides are identical. They both function using the KUKA KR500, which is a heavy-duty 6-axis industrial robot manufactured by the German company KUKA. With both rides, the ride seats are mounted onto the ends of the robotic arms, which move along a fixed track. And with both of these rides, you'll see a mixture of practical effects as well as screen-based visuals. So yeah, these two rides have a lot in common. Next up, let's talk about The Curse of the Werewolf, a ride that I was personally expecting a lot more from. This ride was just sort of a entry-level roller coaster, and yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, this is basically Flight of the Hippogriff. And yes, I am aware that Flight of the Hippogriff is technically a few notches lower on the thrill meter than Curse of the Werewolf. However, if you think about it, this is Epic's entry-level coaster. I guess you could argue Minecart Madness, but I would even say that that has more thrills than Curse of the Werewolf. And I guess I have a bone to pick with this ride because this is the very first ride I ever went on at Epic, and it just did not meet the expectations I had in my head. And check out my honest review of Epic Universe video if you want to hear all about that. Okay, let's head over to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic. An immersive experience like no other. There is only one ride in this world, and that is Harry Potter and the Battle Battle at the Ministry, which is basically, and somebody out there is literally going to murder me for saying this, the Jimmy Fallon ride. And I know it might seem harsh, but think about it. The seats are almost identical. The ride experience is virtually the same. Both low thrill level motion simulators with projections on screens and 4D sensory effects. However, I will give credit where credit is due. Battle at the Ministry is a much better ride than Race Through New York with Jimmy Fallon, and in some ways, it actually shares some similarities with another ride, Skull Island Reign of Kong. So on a technical level, Skull Island and Battle at the Ministry do have a lot more in common than Jimmy Fallon and Battle at the Ministry. For one, Kong and Battle at the Ministry both have ride vehicles that move along a track, and two, and this is the biggest comparison, they both have very impressive large-scale animatronic animals. Both queues also have a centerpiece animatronic character. Okay, let's head on over to the Isle of Berk. Let's talk about Fire Drill, which is basically Villain Con Minion Blast. Now, it doesn't take a rocket surgeon to figure out the similarities between these two. Both rides are shooting games that move guests along a predetermined path using a special conveyance system that allows for continuous loading and unloading. Both rides are for a younger crowd, and the only real difference is that you won't get wet on the Minion Blast ride, and that you will definitely have less fun on Fire Drill. The ride certifiably sucks. Find out more in my honest review of Epic Universe. I'm gonna skip the Dragon Racers Rally because this one's not really like anything else. Maybe like Kang and Kodos or One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, but that's definitely a stretch. So we'll just move right on to Hiccup's Wing Gliders, which is basically Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. And really the only similarities here are that they are both family-friendly launch coasters that both incorporate some animatronic elements, and they're both pretty long tracks that take you through forested green sceneries. But other than that, I think they compare more on a spiritual level than a technical level. One thing they definitely have in common is that they are both super fun. Last but not least, let's talk about the rides of Celestial Park, starting with the Constellation Carousel, which is basically a carousel. It is a carousel. I guess for the sake of this video, you could say it's like the carousel, or maybe because it has like individual spinning things within the carousel, it's kind of like Stormforce Acceleron, but let's leave that there and talk about Stardust Racers. And this one is basically a ride that no longer exists at the Universal Parks. Dueling Dragons. Dueling Dragons was a dueling coaster located at Islands of Adventure that closed permanently in 2017. Just like Stardust Racers, Dueling Dragons featured a number of near-miss moments where it felt like you were actually going to collide with the other coaster. And while Dueling Dragons had the dueling aspect, it didn't have any launches. So that's why I'm going to say that Stardust Racers is also basically Velocicoaster. And just as was the case with Hiccup's and Hagrid's, I feel like Velocicoaster and Stardust Racers are kind of linked more on a spiritual level than anything else. They both serve as the big, smooth, maximum thrill level coaster in their respective parks, and they are both a lot of fun. So there you go. You see now what I mean? It's not that these rides are clones of pre-existing rides at the other parks, it's just that they share a lot of similarities. And whether you want to call them inspirations or knockoffs is entirely up to you. Either way, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button if you want to stay in the loop. And as always, thanks for watching.